Hey folks, MasakoX here. Before we continue the story of Cooler becoming canonically good, it would mean the world to me if you could take a look at my refreshed Patreon at patreon.com/MasakoX, where there are two simple tiers. It would be great if you could take a look at the pinned comment below or a link up here. Anyway, let's get on to the Cooler story. They were holding back. He could feel it. Despite attacking him at a mere Super Saiyan level, both Son Goku and Vegeta were noticeably stronger. It wouldn't surprise him if the prince had also unlocked the same level of godly powers that his friend had, but he wondered if this was due to the ritual or through some other means. After all, would he be able to swallow his pride and allow others to grant him such strength? He was still in his fourth form, Cooler, but decided to humor the two attackers by going into the fifth one. A good old classic. It wasn't the level of beating that he had received from Beerus. He was in fact able to do something, but there was something almost patronizing about how these two were treating him. Still, he held his tongue, watching their direct movements and behaviors. Vegeta was definitely the more cautious and calculated of the two, looking for the best angles and openings in order to do some damage. Still, it caused him to be slightly slower when compared to Son Goku, who was throwing very strong, fast blows which not always connected but allowed him to keep up the pressure. One of them would be manageable, but both of them? Well, if they insisted, Cooler roared, allowing his body to expand even more into his sixth form. He hadn't anticipated needing it, but, well, he needed it. That felt almost like a cue for the Saiyans, who turned into forms that he hadn't witnessed yet. Still, judging by the fact that his basic key sensing abilities were detected, well, he detected nothing. He saw that there was a new divine transformation. So, I suppose that red wasn't really a fitting color. He tilted his massive head-tailed hair, looking now at the blue auras of his rivals. Let's just say we workshopped it a bit. Vegeta smirked and delivered a pretty devastating punch. It wasn't the strength of the punch that shocked Cooler, it was the fact of how effortless it seemed for the prince. It was infuriating, almost as if he had returned to the drawing board yet again. He focused all the power and had managed to hold rather decently, all things considered, against these two Divine Saiyans, until he heard a familiar voice in a rather sleepy tone. What is the matter with all this? You two are messing with my nap. Wait, Whis? You brought another one? Beerus looked a little bit less intimidating in his dressing gown, but Cooler wasn't showing any signs of amusement. Oh, that's nothing, Lord Beerus. The Emperor wanted to expand his scope, just like these two. I think it's a great idea. The destroyer yawned and sat atop a nearby tree trunk and behaved in a true catty manner, trying to clean himself first. Yes, down there. Cooler winced. Well, hopefully it won't be a complete waste of time. But I don't think you're going far in that flashy form of yours, Cooler. It looks tad unwieldy for whatever you're trying to do. I think that is enough for now. The angel attendant nodded at his trainees, who powered down and stopped fighting almost instantaneously at the behest of their new trainer. Vegeta crossed his arms angrily. Oh, come on, Vegeta. He's been an ally for years now. I don't think you're planning to blow up the Earth, are you, buddy? Cooler was not wanting to hear the word buddy, but he agreed. After coming back to a more manageable size, the Emperor merely smirked. I didn't know that I am making you so nervous still, Vegeta. No, if you don't cross the line, you have nothing to worry about. In a way, we are keeping each other in line. At least, I thought it was the case until I heard that the two of you were seeking the aid of an actual angel behind my back. And besides, why isn't Gohan here with you? Yes, Kakarot, why isn't Gohan with us? And why do we have to have this fool? The prince glared at Son Goku, who smiled and laughed. Well, he's a dad now. He's much more serious about his family and work life than I ever was, but you know what? It's fine. He's his own guy. And I'm sure he and Piccolo are searching for their own ways to find strength. In other words, we're picking up their slack, Cooler smirked. So, how did you do it, Vegeta? how did you manage to attain the God Key, as you call it, without having to hold a couple of hands? He looked at the prince rather inquisitively and amusedly. Ha! I'm not telling you! The Saiyan looked away. Oh, it's quite simple, really. We started talking, and Vegeta let out a defeated sigh. You see, you need to absorb it by being around divine beings. Strong entities like yourself should be able to adapt to it quite handily. Cooler blinked twice. So I just have to be around the likes of you, Lord Beerus, and these two? Essentially, yes. But meditation and honing your body would help him accelerate this process greatly. Mind you, I'm not sure if your kind is even capable of such a feat. You are quite an anomaly. Saiyans, though, are rather adaptable, so it was relatively easy for the two of them. I am many things, and adaptable is one of them, I assure you. The Emperor glared at Vegeta, who started to laugh. What's so funny? Oh, nothing, but I didn't take you for a gambler, Lord Cooler. A gambler? The prince uncrossed his arms. The way I see it, you'll be attempting a training more than not even Whis knows if it would work. You might be left behind for good. Oh, it's not the first time that I have to chase after sassy, self-important savants, and he is dead now, I have you know. Cooler looked at Vegeta. Well then, we should get started then, shouldn't we? The following weeks, well, they were not easy for the Emperor. Indeed, once again, he was reminded of his younger years when he felt that Frieza was in front of him only due to his weird genetics and dumb luck. Granted, it would be unfair to say that those Saiyans hadn't worked on their power increase, certainly more than his brother ever had throughout his lifetime. But let's be honest, their freakish biology helped them greatly. He was fighting, analyzing their weaknesses and styles, but he was still far behind. Initially, he decided to try and meditate in his sixth form, but this only ended up in some mild neck sores due to the weight of the head tails. Maybe Beerus was right. He decided to tone it down a notch into his fifth form. Initially, he didn't even know if he was capable of absorbing said God Key. He didn't feel any different being around on this odd planet. He was improving, of course, but at a much slower pace than either of the Saiyans, and was able to keep up with them mostly by being a good analytical mind and leaning more into breaking through their weaknesses, instead of outright power advantage. As powerful as they were, some things they did were curiously unrefined. Then, after being frustrated during meditation yet again, he decided to go down even more into his base, the fourth form. It had become second nature, so he might as well go about it in his birth form. It was slightly annoying. After all the years he spent developing and improving his elevated states, this felt like a different path, almost a waste of time, but maybe it was good to go back to basics. And indeed, this helped, because whenever Goku and Vegeta were going into Super Saiyan Blue, whatever, it was a far better name than whatever they were trying to call it before, he could feel them. It was a strange sensation. Still, nothing outwardly new appeared, for now. Other than, of course, more effective dodging, which irritated him slightly. Was that it? His defensive prowess started to change him into a very good punching bag for much more powerful beings. He also witnessed Whis berating Son Goku for being too relaxed and Vegeta for overthinking, two traits that he himself saw. What was his problem, though? I think that you're trying too hard. You're not chasing anyone, Cooler. Stop thinking about this like a chase and consider it more like self-improvement, said Whis one time. Oh, it's easy for you to say. You were probably that powerful from the get-go. Actually, no. I used to train a lot with my sister. We had so much fun together. You know siblings, right? I can assure you, Whis, any experiences that I had having a sibling were anything but fun. The Emperor then sighed, and then Whis changed tack. Well, on a flip side, my sister likes to boast how she was the more powerful one 1,000 years ago, but nowadays, it's anyone's guess. Well, I am much stronger than my brother, and he is dead, so not much help, really. Oh, the thing that I am saving is, don't do that, because Though you want to keep the Saiyans in check, do it for you, for your own self-improvement. But that is one of the more important motivations that I have, to beat the Saiyans. Change that attitude, and maybe you might see some results. Ugh, self-improvement, something that he knew well, a trait that he was shunned for in his family. For a while, he was doing the training for that, but seeing another dimension of power opening up before the Saiyans, it made him feel like he'd left the loop. Maybe it was like Son Goku said. There were other ways, but he accepted the challenge. He could not give up now anyway. It was not in his nature. How does one become a god? How does someone like him start going down said path? His perception was expanded, but how much further could he go? Well, first off, the sole fact that he was able to perceive God Ki was the best signal that he could attain it. He gathered his thoughts during the meditation sessions and allowed energy to flow through him. He was the nexus point for the leftover God energy. He was catching it like fish in a net. There was no chasing, going after something. This was perpetual. He thought about divinity as something spectacular, but he witnessed the gods. If there was something more, they were hiding it for sure. If not for his menacing aura, Beerus would have been rather unassuming, rather thin and gaunt and yet near endlessly strong. Even Son Goku's form attained with the help of his fellow Saiyans was rather modest. He was focused on evolution and doing more, that he almost forgot that he had to return to basics. He felt as if energy was flowing through his body for the first time, and he accepted it graciously. He experienced the change in both his limbs and the bio armor, the exoskeleton, which was designed in a way to evolve together with his body. He could feel that he was getting smaller, at least in the muscular department. Just like Son Goku or Beerus, he was becoming leaner. His aura a brilliant purple, as his body started to lighten up slightly. His eyes were glowing with the same light as said aura, and the blue adornments of the bio armor, the jewels, as they called it, switched their hue to dark violet. The most striking change was the markings on his face. They were no longer red, but white. Rather striking, actually. Otherwise, the changes were minimal and unassuming. "You look different," he heard a chirpy, happy-go-lucky voice being Son Goku. "Well, okay, not that much, but it's the first step. Did it feel similar to you?" Cooler shook his head. "To be quite honest, it was quite overwhelming. You are handling this much better than I." The Saiyan smiled and transformed into his blue, elevated state outright. And then they clashed. At least, Son Goku thought they were about to clash, when really, the thing charging at him was Cooler's afterimage. Mental training that the Emperor took on Beerus' planet had allowed him to come up with some rather interesting brand new ideas. He could use that distraction and move directly behind the Saiyan's back and hit him. It connected and sent him flying. But the rival quickly recovered and shot his trademark Kamehameha, which was then cut in half with Cooler's eye-beam, now being bright purple, and one unified projectile from both of his irises. Then they met up close with a flurry of attacks. No longer was he on the defensive. And while Son Goku was powerful, he still didn't know what to expect from this new form of his enemy. And the Emperor could allow himself to feel much more aggressive this time around. The fight was going so well, so much in his favor, that he felt a different ki blast coming back at him, but he was able to deflect it with his wrist. "Oh, how adorable. Are you envious, Vegeta, that we are having fun?" Cooler looked at the prince, who was now in his Super Saiyan Blue form, but he did not say a word. He didn't need to. He made his feelings clear. The two of them were trying to get Cooler on the defensive, but they weren't really working together. It almost felt like a competition between them, a fact that the Emperor was mercilessly using against them. He felt so light and free right now, unburdened by the angers and stresses that had accumulated over the years. the empire, his family, everything that could worry him. That right now was not important. The only thing that mattered was this fight, this very moment. Still, he had some satisfaction that his basic divine form was enough to give both of his rivals a run for their money. That was certainly a nice little treat. Was that partially due to its novelty and lack of predictability? Perhaps, but he knew that this wasn't a final form. In fact, this was merely a doorstep. Whis was watching all of this with immense amounts of glee, and even Beerus looked a bit invested, quite surprised that Cooler had managed to come up with something new. Maybe the destroyer had gotten bored from watching blue hair all of the time. It was hard to tell. Now, one of the more effective ways of disrupting both of the Saiyans, Cooler found out, was his improved supernova technique. Instead of just throwing a simple death ball at his enemies, so conventional, he threw a projectile that was rotating, shooting deadly beams as it traversed itself. This allowed him to get close and get some punches and tail attacks in while that was distracting them. And when Vegeta was trying to get the best trajectory to dodge, he charged behind him and punched him out of Super Saiyan Blue. Yes, Whis advised him to stop thinking about the chase, and, well, he didn't. But that, not doing so, that felt good. As the prince started plummeting toward the ground, he caught his leg so he wouldn't come down crushing. He nodded at Son Goku, who, although slightly weathered himself, was smiling with excitement at the whole ordeal. And it was hard for the Emperor to admit, he was smiling back in fact. But while Cooler and the Saiyans were busy training, someone gathered the Dragon Balls and, quite literally, gathered the pieces of his predecessor. Unfortunately to everyone involved, they were able to go under the radar. But Frieza was now back to life, and once his wounds were healed, he knew that he needed his throne back. But as he found out, his brother had improved the Force greatly. He as well had to resort to something that he deemed unthinkable all these years ago. And when he will be done with the training, it was anyone's guess. The Saiyans, his brothers, and all the traitors that followed him were going to pay regardlessly. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now, as we end Act 7.